Hey guys, Zedd here, bringing you another installment of Soul Calibur 6 101. In the last episode, we talked about three primary concepts: movement, attacking, and defending. And in today's episode, we're going to go over how to lab a character, or if you've already been playing the game, how to lab a new character. I'm going to go over the ways that I look at a new character, the things that I do when I first jump into training mode here, and I hope that maybe I can give you just some insight on how to make it easier, because some characters can be a lot more overwhelming than others. And I'll just kind of break down the character here, and we'll go from there. So for the purposes of this episode, I've chosen Geralt, and the reason I've chosen Geralt, as I've talked about in previous videos, is he's very fundamental, he's very basic, he's very easy, but he has different kinds of tools, and he has a little bit of everything that you'd be looking for in your Soul Calibur character. Now, within Soul Calibur, you'll notice it's a very universal game, so a lot of the notations are the exact same for every character. Some characters have some extra ones, and some characters don't have any within a certain category at all. So what I mean by that is every character has, an AA, BB, 2K, 2B, 2A, 4A, 4B. You get the idea, right? The directional notation never changes. If anything, you just have additional notation. So what I like to do when I first jump into the game here is instead, some people and I do suggest you do this. I suggest you read the combat lessons for your characters. So, if I was going to do Geralt, I would just kind of browse through this. And what that's going to do for you, like it's not mind-blowing by any means, but what it's going to do for you is it's just going to kind of give you an insight on how the devs think that he's meant to be played and how some of these attacks are meant to be used. And then it goes over kind of some advantages and stuff for the critical edge, the soul charge, and the reversal edge. So I suggest you take a look at those, but for the sake of this video, I'll just skip right past it. The other thing that I do, and again, I won't really go over this in the video, is I actually go through every single attack after I've done what I'm going to show you today, and I just hit every single button, and I watch it play out. I look at the properties, I'm like, high, mid, okay, cool. But again, skipping over that because there's no point in sitting here doing that for Geralt. Anyway, the first thing I do when I jump in here is I look at the five key moves that I think you want to check on every single Soul Calibur character, and that is the 5AA string, the 5BB string, either a 1K or a 2K, depending on the character, either some kind of advancing or approaching attack, usually that has to do with the 4 or 6 direction, and then your 3B, which is most characters' primary launcher. So we're going to look at those 5 moves here for Geralt. So Geralt's AA, let's take a look. Okay, AA, it's fast, it's 12 frames, it has really good range. Okay, this is a button that I think I'd want to use. Now remember, I'm going through this assuming I don't know much about Geralt, so... Okay, AA, 24 damage, not bad, good range, bit slow in recovery, but it's pretty fast. It's good. Okay, what's next? BB. Okay, very similar range to AA. Does a little more damage. Cool. Alright. Not bad. 3B. Pretty standard 3B. Alright. Cool. Cool. Okay. Next up on the list, we would have either 1K or 2K. Let's see which one's better for his low pokes. So we have 2K here. Pretty stubby. 12 damage, so you can probably infer that it's totally safe. Not bad. A little slow looking, though. Bit awkward, too. Or 1K. See, there we go. That looks better. So now we have something that's a bit faster. It is a horizontal. It does a little more damage, and it looks like it maybe has a follow-up in there as well. And then the next one will be that advancing move or that approaching move. So let's see what we can do. Sometimes it's 6-6 or 4-4 depending on your character. So let's look at his 6-6B. Okay, well that's pretty good. That covers a lot of space on the screen. Like a lot of space, and oh look, it actually has a follow-up. Excellent. 44 damage, natural combo. But then just for testing sake, let's see. 4-4B, pretty good as well. And then 4B, let's see what we get here. That also covers a heck of a lot of screen. And then 6B. Well, that seems interesting. Maybe it has a follow-up. Oh look, it does. So you can see the purpose here is I'm going over these 5 buttons because frankly you can win Soul Calibur with these with these 5 buttons. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. because these 5 buttons will all kind of sculpt and shape the basis of your effective range and your fundamental game plan, majority of the time. Awesome. The next thing I'll do is I'll look into what strings does this character have and how valuable are those. So in this case, you'd want to go over to the moves list and you can look at, okay, let's start with horizontal attacks. So we have a 3-hit A string, 6 AA, 6 AB, 1 AA, 1 AB. Now, of course, it might take a bit for you to remember that, and you might have to, refer back to all these. But let's go over these now. So in the case of Girl, let's see how effective these are. So 6A is a high. It's a horizontal high. Okay, so what's the catch? What do I get? A high mid with a lot of delay? That maybe isn't so good. But this is better. A natural combo 2-hit horizontal into a vertical. Now we're getting somewhere. Not bad. 1A. Alright. It said this had a string attached to it. Not a bad little low. Let's see what we get here. Okay. Alright. It wall splats. It's a pretty good follow-up. And for the record, this is a pretty good move. Not bad. Or we get this one. Again, big delay. But oh look, it has a lethal hit attached. I wonder what that is. But we'll look into that in a moment. Excellent. So, there's those. And we move on to vertical attack. Same thing. So 6BB. Okay, and BBB. That's all we get. No problem. 1, 2, 3. Alright. And fire. And in this case, you can hold the fire to get an amplified version. So you can see my point here. Again, I'm not going to go through, but you want to look at the character strings as well after you've established, okay, these are my 5 primary moves. Now what we want to do is we want to look at the character's lethal hits. And the reason why you do this is because the lethal hits will also give you a little bit of insight as to how perhaps the character should be played, or at the very least, it'll give you an insight as to how that particular move is meant to be used. So for example here, while soul charged 6A BB. Powers up when the opponent is soul charged, always triggers when the opponent is soul charged. Okay. So that means when the opponent is soul charged and I'm soul charged, we get a new lethal hit. Alright, sure. 1AB triggers upon hitting an opponent with full soul gauge. Okay. So that, oh, I see. So that's why the 1AB was lethal hitting there. Alright. And if you go through Geralt's lethal hits, you'll notice that a lot of them have to do with either his signs, which is his kind of unique trait, which I'll get into in a moment here, or the opponent's meter. And it's quite interesting that that's what this character is kind of based around, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. So once you've established what their lethal hits are and you've kind of gauged that for yourself, you want to see what their unique trait is. And the best way to do that without, coming up with it is to actually go to the combat lessons. So in this particular case, here we go. So it's sometimes, depending on your character, it's on the adept or master categories. It depends. In Geralt's case, it's kind of split between the two. So adept is talking about his meter burn magic spells or signs, and then in the master here, it's talking about his silver sword. So his silver sword attacks will all be denoted because they've got this little blink at the front, and they use his other sword to attack. The silver sword does more damage to an opponent based on whether or not they're soul charged, and how much bar they have determines whether or not it'll lethal hit, right? So this is a unique feature for Geralt, and you want to take advantage of this when you can. The other thing he has going for him is he has the ability to burn meter for things other than soul charge and critical edge. Now where is, oh, here we go. Right, so what you can do is you can go 6BB hold. Alright, cool. And now he just used a quarter of a bar, but we got further extension off of that. He's got 4A plus B, which is a parry. He's got 6A plus B, which is an armored bubble run-in. He's got 2A plus B, which is just raw fire. He's got 8A plus B, which is a very expensive pushback. And then he has, I believe it's, 6A plus B for an unblockable. So, those are all different things he can use for his fire, and yeah, those are all options. Now what's interesting is they gave him a new lethal hit in a recent patch, which has to do with his 1B, which is a fantastic button. Oh, here it is. Triggers after hitting an opponent with all 5 signs. So this means 1, 2, 3, 4, and then critical edge is 5, not the unblockable. So it's neat. And in Geralt's case, his 1B is actually quite good. So this move is a move you'd want to be using a lot anyway, and it's pretty solid. So it's a solid lethal hit that he can actually get in practice. So we've established the core moves, the strings, the lethal hit, the the unique trait. Now there's one more thing I do before I start getting into the meat and potatoes of my character, which is where I'll end the video. And that is, I want to see kind of what other main buttons, because every character has the first 5 we talked about. So what's the catch? Well, one thing you can do is you can refer to this list here, the main attacks list. It's not bad, but at the very least, it gives that little text at the bottom there, so like easily hits moving opponents. It gives you this little text, and it kind of talks about, again, what each move is used for. So you can see there his 3B, which is the launcher, says combo starter. Yes, 100%. And then as for basics, getting into the character, it gives you 3 or 4 different combos you can just start with, right? So, for example, we've got 3-3B, 6BB hold, 6-6BB, right? You can see what that looks like, right? So something like that. And you can start with that. But other main attacks, the way you're going to know them, other than just looking up and asking other people, is you're going to want to look for moves that either are like very fast or very safe, or if you have a horizontal mid attack, you want to look for those. If you have a command throw, you want to look for those. Excuse me, pardon me. You want to look for those, and the reason why is because command throws leave you plus on break, meaning that if you hit the grab, awesome. If they break the grab, awesome. It's still your turn. So you want to look for things like that. Looking at their 8-way run moves, I also suggest, because this means these are moves you're going to be using while you're moving, and as I said in the last video, movement options in Soul Calibur are very important. So you want to look at moves that can do what we call crush, meaning that they can dodge certain attacks by just innately using the move. So for example, every character is 9K or 9B, right? This is going to crush low attacks. So you're attacking and evading at the exact same time. And then in Geralt's case, he also has an auto GI, so you want to look for those kind of moves. You want to look for moves that have any kind of counter property or dodge property. So, he has 8 and 2 B plus K. It's a very heavy sidestep. It's about 90 degrees. So this is quite good. And just buttons like that, right? You want to look for special buttons and special moves that do special things. What makes your character unique, other than the standard 5 key buttons that I talked about, right? So that's at least how I start approaching a character in the lab. I read the combat lessons, I look over the entire moves list, that's like extra, that's what I do, and then I look at those different things I talked about in the video today. The last thing you can look at if you really want to get into it is the reversal edge attacks and the soul charge, but while you're learning a character, I wouldn't really fuss too much over their soul charge and reversal edge options quite yet, but if you want to get it all in one go, obviously go for it. That is all up to you. Alright, so, not mind-blowing, not groundbreaking, but I hope maybe this video helped at least set you off in the right direction and helps get you started, because truly, Soul Calibur is a game of systems, meaning that every character can be played similarly with the same notation, so all that's important is knowing what your character does with that notation. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next episode. Have a good one.